Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we try to take that absolute fire hose of information that's just flooding the world.
And it really is a flood.
It is, and we
Yeah.
distill it all down. We try to find the most potent, the most practical drops of knowledge specifically for you.
And today, we're really tackling what might be the single biggest modern challenge to any kind of personal growth.
Which is?
How do you gain knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly? I mean, we all exist in this constant state of digital fragmentation.
Yeah, your attention is pulled in 100 different directions at once.
Exactly. And the sheer volume of stuff out there, it only makes the problem worse. So the real question, the one we're digging into, is how do you cut through all of that noise and achieve real mastery without feeling completely and utterly overwhelmed?
That feeling of information overload, I think that is the defining characteristic of our time.
I agree.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. Maybe you're prepping for a huge career shift or learning a really complex skill like coding, and this is what our sources really explore in detail, trying to achieve genuine fluency in a new language.
Right.
The studying is happening. People are putting in the hours. But the critical variable, the thing we're diving into today, is the quality and the effectiveness of your focus.
It's not about the hours you put in.
Not at all. It's about the intensity of the minutes.
And our deep dive today is, it's rooted in these really powerful, I would even say countercultural concepts developed by Cal Newport in his work, Deep Work.
A hugely influential book.
Immensely. And we're taking his principles of intense, sustained focus and translating them directly into a framework for accelerated learning and skill acquisition.
Okay, so how are we going to frame this for the listener?
We'll use the mechanics of language learning as a kind of perfect lens to look through, but I want to be clear, the takeaways, they apply across every single discipline you might be tackling.
Okay, let's unpack this then. I think our mission statement for today is crystal clear.
Let's hear it.
We want to extract the most important nuggets on how to harness your full, uninterrupted attention. The goal is to maximize learning speed, maximize effectiveness, and turn your daily practice, no matter how short it is, into real, measurable, and fast progress.
We are looking for the cognitive shortcut.
Yes, the shortcut to true, long-lasting understanding.
And that brings us to the central claim, the big one, the idea that makes this entire framework so compelling.
Which is that deep work is a superpower.
It is described by the author explicitly as a superpower in today's economy and in today's, frankly, distracted world.
So our job today is to figure out what makes it so powerful, what makes focused attention so economically, socially, and just mentally powerful for you, the learner, so you can achieve your own specific high-level goal.
Exactly. If this really is a superpower, then we need the instruction manual. And that's what we're here to build.
So let's start right there with that big idea of a superpower. If we're going to master it, we need a really clear, really rigorous definition. When we say deep work, what is it exactly? It has to be more than just, focus harder.
Oh, much more. And the source material suggests it requires a level of commitment that, frankly, most people find almost impossible in their daily lives.
Okay, so what is that commitment?
Well, Newport doesn't pull any punches. He defines deep work with almost military precision. It means working with full attention and complete focus on one single cognitively demanding task.
One task. Not two, not three.
Just one. And what's absolutely critical here is the commitment to total, uncompromising immersion. It's not just about sitting down at your desk. It's about creating a protective bubble, mentally, physically, and, technologically, where nothing else exists but that task.
A bubble. I like that. So you are fully present right there in the moment with the material.
That's the goal.
And that implies, then, an almost zero-tolerance policy for distraction, which I have to say is a pretty radical thought for most people.
It is radical, and the sources are extremely specific about this.
Oh.
We're not just talking about the big interruptions like a phone call.
Right.
We're talking about the micro interruptions, the tiny little things that define modern life.
Okay, give me some examples.
It's the usual suspects, the corrosive ones. The phone light that just flashes in the corner of your eye, the quick message notification that pops up, the instinctive, unconscious urge to just switch tabs for a second.
Or that 5-second scroll on social media. You tell yourself it's just 5 seconds.
Right. I'll just check TikTok. I'll just glance at Instagram. And the reason the zero tolerance policy is so hard and so important is because those micro distractions, they give us a tiny, immediate hit of dopamine.
Ah.
They make us feel, just for a moment, busy or socially connected.
So the effort required to eliminate them, it's actually fighting against our own biology. We're fighting a reward system in our brain.
Precisely. That's a perfect way to put it. If you allow even one small notification, I mean, even just the vibration of your phone on the table, you've introduced a distraction. You've broken the bubble. You've pulled your mind away.
And when you succeed, when you actually manage to eliminate those things.
When you succeed, you force your brain to engage in a really strong, powerful way. You're using its highest processing capacity. And the result of that, the result of true deep work, it isn't just about efficiency.
It's more than that.
It's about maximizing your cognitive capability. And this leads directly to clearer thinking, much faster understanding, quicker learning, and this is the crucial part, a massive enhancement in your long-term memory retention.
Okay, so the information actually sticks.
It sticks for years because you're encoding it deeply enough into your neural architecture.
That connection to long-term memory, that feels vital. It really elevates deep work from just being, a simple time management hack.
It's not a hack.
No, it's a foundational cognitive learning strategy. If you don't engage deeply, your brain simply doesn't build the necessary infrastructure to hold on to the knowledge.
It has nowhere to put it. The information just washes away. And this brings us right to the core thesis of the book, what the author calls the superpower hypothesis.
The power of rarity.
The power of rarity. The whole context for this being a superpower is that distracted world we mentioned.
Right, where most people exist in this state of what you might call perpetual semi-distraction.
That's it. They are constantly context switching. They're stopping a task, starting a new one, checking their phone, resetting their entire mental state.
And this is happening multiple times every few minutes.
Sometimes multiple times per minute. They simply lack the ability to stay tethered, to stay connected to a single cognitive goal for any sustained period of time.
And that chronic fragmentation of attention, that's the opportunity.
That is the massive opportunity. It's why the ability to focus deeply is so economically valuable today, because it is now rare. And when you can demonstrate this capability, you automatically gain this just overwhelming advantage.
An advantage in what way?
You learn fundamentally faster than your peers. You finish complex projects in a fraction of the time. And you produce better, higher quality results that simply cannot be replicated by a distracted mind.
So you're not just faster, you're better.
You're faster and better. And your mind, through this deliberate, focused effort, it becomes both incredibly sharp and paradoxically intensely calm at the same time.
Sharp and calm.
That is the difference maker in the 21st century. It's a quiet competence that comes directly from superior focus.
That idea of quiet confidence, of being sharp yet calm, that feels like the ultimate goal of this whole system. But to really understand the advantage, I think we have to shine a bright light on the enemy.
They do.
And that's shallow work, which is where most people, probably unknowingly, lose the battle for their own attention.
And they lose it every single day. Shallow work is defined as easy logistical work, the kind of thing that doesn't require significant cognitive demand.
So it's the stuff you can do on autopilot.
Exactly. It's the kind of task you can do while you're thinking about what to have for dinner, or while you're hack-checking your phone, or listening to noise in the background, or just jumping between a dozen non-essential things. It's the constant processing of non-critical information.
And this creates that deadly illusion of busyness.
The deadliest. People spend their entire day in this frenzy of shallow work-quick messages, managing email inboxes, administrative tasks, endless jumping from one low-value activity to another.
And they feel so productive doing it.
They feel incredibly productive, they move fast, they feel busy, but the source material is absolutely adamant on this point. They do not make real, measurable, meaningful progress toward their highest goals.
So the time is being spent, but nothing of value is being built.
The time is consumed, but the skill base remains static. It doesn't grow.
The author has an analogy for this, right? The water analogy.
He does. Think of it this way. Shallow learning is like walking in ankle-deep water. It feels safe, it's simple, there's no real resistance. But because there's no resistance,
it offers zero real training, no growth for your body, and certainly not for your brain.
You're moving, but you're not getting any stronger.
But deep learning, in the same analogy, is like fully getting into the water and swimming against the current, or streaming, as the sources describe it.
Right. You are fully in the current, completely immersed. Your entire attention is deployed against the resistance of the water. Your brain is forced to work harder, to engage with the complexity.
And because of that forced, sustained effort,
Your cognitive muscle grows stronger, faster, and more capable.
that forced effort, that's the key. The brain is adapting to resistance.
Yeah.
We get into the neuroscience of it. That resistance is what triggers the strengthening of the neural pathways.
It's the trigger for growth. Now, as an analyst, I do want to address a point of friction here. Shallow work isn't inherently useless or evil.
Okay, that's important.
Sometimes you absolutely must answer that quick message. You have to file that simple document. The challenge for the deep learner isn't eliminating it entirely, because that's impossible. It's about radically restricting it.
Right. I think that's the critical point the listener needs to hear. Because in a modern office or just in modern life, you have to answer that message. So how does this philosophy account for that necessary evil? Or does it demand some impossible standard of monastic isolation?
It absolutely accounts for it. It's managed through strict scheduling and batching, which we'll get into in detail in Section 3. But the danger, as the author really emphasizes, arises when shallow work is allowed to leak into your high-value time.
It contaminates the deep work.
It does. And the specific cognitive cost here is something called cognitive residue.
Cognitive residue. Okay, let's unpack that. What is it?
When you switch tasks, let's say you stop writing an important, difficult report to quickly check a chat message, your attention doesn't immediately and cleanly follow that switch.
A part of your brain is still back with the report.
A residue of it, yes. It remains stuck in your short-term memory, and it slows down your ability to fully engage with the new task, the message. But crucially, when you switch back to the report,
A residue of the message remains.
exactly. That half-formed thought about the chat conversation, it lingers. And that residue, that little bit of leftover attention, prevents you from reaching peak focus on the demanding task.
So every time you switch, you're mentally reloading your entire context model for the task, which must waste a huge amount of mental energy.
Immense amounts. So that feeling of being overwhelmed that we talked about, it isn't necessarily due to the difficulty of the task itself. It's the constant, exhausting reloading of these mental models caused by tiny, frequent context switches.
That is a game-changing idea right there.
It is. If those shallow habits become your routine, if you pick up the phone automatically, if you switch tabs without even thinking, that constant reloading weakens your mind without you even noticing. It prevents you from ever developing that strong, deep learning muscle.
And it ensures you stay stuck in that ankle-deep water forever.
Forever. So the deep work philosophy, it doesn't demand elimination. It demands batching and confinement. You do all your shallow work in one designated, short, and unavoidable block of time, leaving the rest of your day sacred, protected for depth.
Okay, moving into our second section here, we're asking the really fundamental question. If the cost of all this distraction is cognitive residue, why does the discipline of depth matter so much? It sounds like it's more than just a framework for getting things done.
Oh, it is. It sounds like a foundational training for the mind itself.
That's it.
Deep work is fundamentally cognitive training. It's not just a way of working. It's a way of training your mind to become stronger, clearer, and far more focused.
And the knock-on effect of that.
When your mind is structured and powerful like this, everything you attempt to learn becomes fundamentally easier. Especially those really complex, interconnected skills like trying to master a new language.
So we're talking about building connections in the brain on a cellular level?
We are. When you learn grammar rules or new vocabulary, your brain is literally forging links between ideas. If your attention is scattered, those links are weak. They're flimsy. They're prone to breaking the moment they're challenged.
That's a powerful image. And this is where we can get into some of the accessible neuroscience the sources mention. This isn't just a metaphor, is it?
No, it's not. And deep attention strengthens these connections through a process related to myelination and synaptic consolidation.
Myelination. Okay, that sounds dense. Can you explain that in the context of learning for us?
Of course. Think of your neural pathways like electrical cables in a house. Myelin is the fatty sheath. It's the insulation that wraps around these cables, which are called axons.
Okay.
The more insulation, the faster and more efficiently the electrical signals can travel down that pathway. The better the signal, the better you perform the skill, and the stronger the memory of that skill becomes.
So how does deep work affect that?
When you engage in intense, deep practice, you are deliberately firing that specific pathway, that specific cable, rapidly and repeatedly. This process, this repeated firing, helps to accelerate the myelination on those specific circuits.
Okay, so if shallow focus is like a weak, flickering electrical signal, Deep focus is a powerful, sustained surge of electricity.
That's a perfect analogy.
The deeper your attention stays in one place for a long time, say on the structure of an English sentence, the more insulation, the more myelin your brain applies to those specific circuits.
Exactly. Deep attention strengthens the structural foundation. Your focus stays tethered to the subject, which allows your brain to quietly and efficiently build a strong language foundation.
So it's the basic insulated structure that then supports all the later, more complex learning.
It has to be there first. Without that robust base, everything you try to build on top of it, complex conversation, nuanced writing, it's all unstable. It's wobbly. It's prone to collapse the moment it's put under real pressure.
This means the difference between a deep learner and a shallow learner isn't just about speed. It's about structural integrity.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's drill down into the three major practical advantages that this strong structure provides.
The first, and I would argue the most immediate advantage, is simply faster skill acquisition.
Right.
Deep focus helps your brain become fully awake, fully online, and highly analytical. It allows you to pay attention to the subtle, fine-grained details that are just completely missed by the shallow, fragmented focus state.
And that's where the magic happens.
That is where the acceleration happens.
Can you give us a really tangible example of those subtle details? Let's stick with language learning.
Sure. Consider listening. Shallow listening means you hear the words and you extract the general meaning. He went to the store. You get the gist.
Okay.
Deep listening, however, means your fully active brain is noticing the rhythm, the intonation, the stress patterns, and specifically the way words blend together in natural speech.
Like connected speech.
Exactly. For instance, noticing the small difference in pronunciation and usage between I used to live there and I would go there every day. Shallow focus hears both of those phrases as just past habit.
But they're not the same.
They're not. Deep focus registers the subtle phonetic differences. And it registers the context, the implied meaning of a permanent past state versus a repeated past action, which is absolutely crucial for achieving real fluency.
So you're not just passively receiving words, you're actively decoding the texture, the complex structure of the speech.
And that is what separates a native speaker from a good student. You're decoding the music of the language, not just the words.
That's the power of deep attention. What's the second advantage?
The second is simply high-quality results. When your cognitive engine is fully engaged, fully involved in the production of language, your sentences become clearer, your ideas are better structured, and your confidence increases because your mind is working cohesively, not fighting itself.
So deep work guarantees you're doing your best work, not just your average work.
Exactly. You move from acceptable output to exceptional output.
It's the quality of the effort determining the quality of the output. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the third advantage is what you called the efficiency paradox.
Yes.
You noted that many people resist deep work because they think it just takes too much time, too much energy.
And this resistance is based on a complete misunderstanding of how cognitive energy actually works. The opposite is true. Deep work is the ultimate time saver.
How so?
It helps you finish demanding tasks faster, precisely because zero energy is wasted on task switching, on stopping, on starting again, all because of that massive overhead cost of cognitive residue we just talked about.
Right. If your brain doesn't have to keep reloading the mental model for the complex task over and over again.
The actual work gets done in a fraction of the time.
That makes perfect sense.
And the sources really drive this point home with a powerful claim. Even just 20 minutes of deep, uninterrupted focus yields substantially more and higher quality progress than 2 full hours of scattered, distracted practice.
20 minutes versus 2 hours.
That's the real magic of the system. You study less time, but learn more deeply.
When you actually calculate the true energy drain of constantly having to pull your mind back to the English text after checking one quick notification, that energy loss is just colossal.
It's a huge invisible tax on your attention. Deep work eliminates that constant mental attrition, and it makes your focus 20 minutes absolutely laser productive.
And this all leads us to the wider context we're operating in, which you call the attention economy.
Which is waging a constant low-grade war on your willpower.
It's a very aggressive environment. This concept, the attention economy, describes how these massive corporate entities, apps, social platforms, news feeds, are constantly and professionally fighting for your attention.
And they are very, very good at it. They are deliberately engineered with sophisticated psychological tricks to pull your focus outward, away from deep thought and inward growth.
They monetize your distraction.
That's their business model. And this constant battle, it weakens your intrinsic ability to focus internally. It slows your long-term learning dramatically.
So deep work, then, acts as a kind of focus protection.
It's a shield. It's a disciplined choice to direct that precious, rare resource of attention back toward your own growth and mastery. And that transforms it into the most powerful personal advantage you can hold in the world today.
And crucially, this protection, this shield, it builds genuine discipline.
It does. And discipline is not about brute force willpower. That's a myth. It's the quiet ability to stay with something even when it feels hard or slow or uncomfortable.
And deep work trains that.
It has to. It requires your mind to stay still and calm even when the entire world is actively trying to interrupt you. And this quiet commitment, this is what separates those who accelerate quickly from those who stay stuck on a learning plateau for years.
And the final piece here, which feels important for preventing burnout, is that deep work isn't about perfection.
No, perfection is paralyzing.
It's about intention.
Yes. Intention means doing something on purpose with a clear, defined reason. You don't have to execute perfectly every single time, especially when you're learning a language. Mistakes are inevitable. They're necessary.
But the approach is different.
Completely. When you approach your practice with deep intention, even short 10-minute focus sessions become profound moments of growth. You prioritize the quality of the effort over the flawlessness of the output.
And that intentionality changes the whole experience.
It shifts it from feeling like a chore, like compliance, to feeling like active, meaningful growth.
This is where we move into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
We understand why deep work matters. The structural integrity in the brain, the speed, the defense against the attention economy. Now, how do we actually do it? Cal Newport provides clear rules, starting with rule number 1, work deeply.
Which really means creating and protecting the space.
Right. And this first step demands a pretty radical acknowledgement from the listener.
It does. You have to acknowledge that deep work is difficult by design. The modern world constantly interrupts it. Your brain is biologically wired to seek novelty, and your phone provides an infinite stream of novelty.
So deep work won't just happen on its own.
It will never happen by itself. It has to be created, it has to be chosen, and it has to be actively, fiercely protected, or it will be immediately swallowed by shallowness.
Okay, so we need structure. And more specifically, we need rituals to signal to the brain that this rare, precious time is starting now.
The sources strongly advocate for structure. Structure means having a simple plan that you follow every single time. It's like an announcement to your brain. Okay, this is the focus time.
And the ritual is the trigger for that.
The ritual is the signal. It's the pregame warm-up that transitions your mind out of that scattered, shallow mode. A small, repeatable routine that signals to the brain that it's time to focus.
Like what? What's a good example?
It could be anything, as long as it's consistent. Sitting in the same designated chair every time. Taking one slow, specific, deep breath. Putting on a particular pair of noise-canceling headphones. Opening a specific notebook. And maybe most importantly, physically placing your phone in another room or inside a locked box.
But that routine helps your brain bypass the internal resistance. It's like a habit stack.
It is. You're not relying on your limited willpower every single time. You're automating the start of concentration. The repetition connects these small physical steps directly to English mode or deep thought mode.
And that routine is also the gatekeeper for protecting the flow state.
It is. Flow is that deeply immersive, smooth, connected feeling when the line between you and the task just dissolves.
And focus is extremely fragile.
Incredibly. Even one small vibration from a phone breaks that flow state immediately. And then the brain requires significant time and energy, that context reloading we talked about, to get back into that productive state. You lose minutes or even hours from a single second of distraction.
So if you switch apps or even just allow yourself to think about other things while you're listening to English, that crucial window of flow where your brain is catching those subtle sounds and understanding sentence structures, it's just instantly closed.
And the information just slides away. It's never consolidated into long-term memory.
So to manage this, the author identifies a few different strategies for scheduling these deep work blocks. It's not one size fits all.
No, and it's important for you, the listener, to find the one that actually fits your life. There are 4 common strategies.
4 different methods. Okay, let's go through them. This feels very actionable.
First, we have what he calls the monastic philosophy. This is the most extreme. It's for people who must absolutely maximize deep work output.
What do they do?
They eliminate shallow obligations almost entirely. They retreat, either metaphorically or literally, to achieve the highest possible focus. This is the writer who goes to a cabin in the woods, the researcher who takes a 6-month sabbatical.
So it's intense, but highly effective for those massive goals. But probably too extreme for most of our listeners with jobs and families.
Very likely. So the next level down is the bimodal philosophy.
Bimodal.
This learner divides their time strictly. Certain periods are dedicated entirely and exclusively to deep work, say 1 or 2 full days a week, or maybe a full 2 weeks every quarter, and the rest of the time is devoted to all those necessary shallow obligations.
So you're either fully focused or you're fully accessible. You're trying to avoid that messy middle ground of being semi-available all the time.
Exactly. You commit to high isolation during the deep periods, but you accept the noise during the shallow periods.
Okay, that feels more achievable. What's next?
The third, and probably the most common for busy professionals, is the rhythmic philosophy. This involves setting aside the same block of time every single day. For example, 90 minutes from 7:00 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
You treat it like a workout schedule.
Just like a workout, the consistent rhythm, the routine, it builds the focus muscle incrementally and very naturally.
That sounds immediately applicable. If you can protect that 90 minutes every single day, the results have to compound very, very quickly.
They absolutely do. And finally, the fourth approach is the journalistic philosophy.
Okay.
This is for people with highly demanding, unpredictable schedules. The journalist doesn't have a fixed block of time. They learn to weave deep work into their schedule whenever they find an opening.
So 45 minutes between meetings or 2 hours on a delayed flight.
Exactly. But this requires huge cognitive discipline because you have to be able to enter and exit that deep state almost immediately. It's the hardest method, but it's also the most flexible. The key is recognizing the window of opportunity and deploying your ritual instantly.
That helps immensely, having a structure to choose from rather than just being told to find time. And this structure connects directly to the next big concept, focus as a muscle.
And energy management. The author provides a really compelling analogy here. Focus is like a muscle, and it gets stronger the more you use it.
So you have to train it.
You have to. Initially, your mind will want to escape after just 5 minutes. It will feel difficult, stressful, uncomfortable. But staying with the task, even when your mind is screaming to stop, that is the exercise. That's what gradually increases your attention span from minutes to hours.
That's so reassuring, because I think many learners feel this immediate sense of defeat when they realize they can only focus for a minute or two at first.
Right.
They need to internalize that the difficulty isn't a sign of failure. It's the signal that the muscle is actually getting a workout. It's precisely what they need to be feeling.
And because it uses so much neurological energy, energy management becomes paramount. Deep work drains your reserves.
So you can't do it when you're already exhausted.
You have to schedule deep work for when your mind is fresh. For most people, that's the early morning, before the day's obligations start to leak in. But it depends on your individual chronotype. The rule, though, remains constant. 20 minutes of high-quality deep work at your peak energy time is massively superior to 2 hours of scattered, shallow effort when you're mentally exhausted at night.
And this brings us back to the elephant in the room. Managing all that necessary shallow work. How do we keep the unavoidable administrative clutter from eroding our deep work time?
We manage it through absolute confinement. The strategy is simple. Batching shallow work.
Batching.
You designate one specific, unavoidable block of time, say, from 3:00 p.m. to 4:00 p.m., and only during that window do you check and respond to all your quick messages, your emails, your administrative tasks.
And outside of that
They
window.
are effectively banned. If someone tries to pull you into shallow work outside of that batch window, you politely but firmly reply that you will address it at 3:00 p.m.
This keeps the cognitive residue contained to a single block, protecting the purity of the deep work period. So it's not about being impossible to reach.
No, it's about controlling the terms of engagement.
And there's one final, often overlooked part of this rule, the clear, decisive ending.
Yes. When you finish a deep work session, you must intentionally say to yourself, I'm done, and follow a small closing ritual.
Why is that decisive ending so important for learning?
It is crucial for processing and consolidation. That clear signal helps your brain to rest, and most importantly, to organize what was just learned.
So the learning continues after you stop.
Studies show that learning continues during periods of rest. Your brain is quietly storing new words and ideas, cementing the myelin on those pathways. If you never give your brain a clear signal that the session is over, it just stays on high alert, and it's unable to effectively file and store the new information. The deliberate shutdown initiates the storage process.
That leads us powerfully into rule number 2, which is, I think, the most challenging and counterintuitive principle for the modern mind.
I would agree. And that is embrace boredom.
Most people view boredom as an existential threat. They flee from it immediately.
Constantly seeking stimulation, anything that makes the brain feel busy or excited or entertained, and they usually do that by grabbing their phone or flipping on a streaming service.
But the author argues that this avoidance is crippling your ability to concentrate.
It is. He flips the script completely. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is a sign that your brain is settling down, and a quiet brain is the crucial doorway to deep work. If you cannot tolerate stillness, you cannot tolerate deep focus.
Think about that from the perspective of a language learner.
Exactly. When you encounter a complex reading passage or a slow, demanding podcast, your mind might quickly become restless. It wants to move, it wants to switch, it wants to find something easier.
That restlessness is the brain screaming for its next dopamine hit.
That's all it is. But the author suggests that if you just stay with the task anyway, if you endure that discomfort, you breathe, and you continue to focus, your brain begins to change. It realizes that the cheap stimulation isn't coming, and so it settles into the challenging material.
So this is a direct attack on what we could call stimulation addiction.
Yeah.
The advice, then, is to intentionally practice being bored to train this stillness.
Exactly. And this isn't about clearing your entire calendar to do nothing for hours. It's about micro practices of cognitive stillness.
What are some examples?
The sources offer simple, powerful daily ones. Waiting in line at the store without checking a single notification. Sitting down with a cup of coffee or tea without a screen or a book. Walking from your office to your car without headphones, just listening to the sound of your own steps.
And these small acts, they teach your brain a vital lesson.
They teach it that calm is safe, that the absence of external stimulation is not only tolerable, but actually useful.
And the outcome of this training for learners is profound.
A quiet, settled mind can listen for longer periods without the stress of distraction. It can read more slowly and more deliberately, and it can truly enter that state of stillness, which is the place where understanding, pattern recognition, and long-term memory formation actually grow.
You begin to see patterns and subtleties in the language that felt difficult or maybe even invisible just moments before.
That's where the breakthroughs happen.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together now in our final section. If you, the listener, actually commit to creating the space, embracing the boredom, and scheduling your focus time, what does that look like when you apply it directly to specific language learning skills?
You see a really dramatic difference between deep and shallow practice in every single skill. Let's start with listening. Shallow listening is passive noise.
Like having the TV on in the background.
Right. You're listening to English while you're folding laundry or working out. Your brain recognizes the sounds, but it doesn't process them structurally.
But deep listening, by contrast, involves a fully active, fully analytical brain.
Correct. It means you are actively processing information. You're identifying the phones, you're analyzing the sentence structures that repeat over and over. You are building strong memories based on that pattern recognition.
You're listening for the texture of the language, not just the content.
Yes. You might even stop the audio to repeat the exact way a speaker linked two words together.
Right.
That focused effort is what builds structural memory.
And deep reading, then, is not just passing your eyes over the text to get the general idea.
Far from it. Deep reading means slowing down radically to understand the nuanced meaning. Noticing exactly how complex words connect, how punctuation influences the meaning of a sentence, and actively using techniques like annotation or summarizing to force active recall.
And this is how you build those strong memory pathways.
Those small, well-myelinated roads inside the brain that help complex information move easily and be retrieved reliably. When you read shallowly, the information is only lightly etched into your brain. The brain builds nothing new of substance.
And I assume the same principle applies to production, to speaking and writing.
Absolutely. Shallow speaking might be a rapid, inaccurate translation from your native language, which results in weak, confusing sentences.
So what's deep production?
Deep work in production means paying careful attention to your words, thinking clearly and slowly about the sentence structure you want to use, and then adjusting your output to make it better. For writing, it means editing slowly and deliberately, focusing on clarity and precision.
And for speaking?
For speaking, it means practicing internal rehearsal, assembling the sentence structure in your mind before the words leave your mouth. This attention to detail builds true fluency.
Which is the ability to speak smoothly, naturally, and with structural integrity.
Because the underlying neural pathways have been strengthened through all that deliberate effort.
And the ultimate outcome of all this, as we discussed earlier, is this clear dichotomy between high quality and average progress.
Deep work creates high-quality progress. It is strong, it is accelerated, and it is steady. Shallow work, on the other hand, creates slow, weak progress that often plateaus very quickly.
And there's a huge psychological impact here, too.
A critical one. Deep practice leads to a constant, quiet feeling of growth and internal pride. You feel it because you are building real, measurable, undeniable skills.
And this is why your English starts to feel strong and steady and real.
And that leads to massive, sustained boosts in confidence.
The book also suggests that choosing depth is not just a study technique. It's about choosing a deeper life.
It fundamentally is about clarity. Choosing depth leads to mental clarity, the ability to see and think clearly without that constant fog of confusion and noise and multitasking.
So deep work brings direction and purpose and even peace back to the learning process.
In a world that is characterized by mental fragmentation and chaotic distraction, yes, you are taking back control of your own cognitive destiny.
And this choice, it directly manifests in the idea of the learner setting boundaries, protecting their focused time fiercely.
Yes. A deep learner protects their mind like a precious garden. They understand that constant noise and distraction are pollutants. They are weeds.
So they actively learn to say no.
They learn to say no to requests that pull them into shallow work, no to constant notification checking, and no to unnecessary digital noise. And this protection, it isn't just about being strict. It's about preserving their most valuable, non-renewable resource, their attention, and directing it exclusively toward their own growth.
And this disciplined choice slowly transforms the learner.
It transforms everything. It impacts not just their English skills, but their entire mental capacity, and it grants them this profound sense of control over their inner world.
So we've journeyed all the way from defining deep work as this rare superpower in our hyper-distracted modern economy.
Right.
We've analyzed its fundamental cognitive advantages, everything from faster skill acquisition through myelination to neutralizing the costly drain of cognitive residue. And finally, we've landed on the practical, actionable rituals you need to apply it, from choosing a scheduling philosophy all the way to embracing necessary boredom.
The synthesis for you, the listener, is this. Deep work is far more than a study technique. It is a profound philosophical choice. It's a choice that fundamentally gives you back control over your own mind and accelerates your growth. By committing to deep focus, even in short, structured blocks, you allow yourself to build a stronger mind, foster clearer thoughts, and develop that quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are making tangible, high-quality progress every single day.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Remember the critical truth we fully developed. You do not need perfect English or perfect knowledge or flawless focus to grow.
Not at all.
You only need the intention to apply deep attention and the discipline to protect a few minutes of focused practice each day. Progress isn't measured in effortlessness. It's measured in intentional resistance.
That's it. Progress is built one small, intentional session at a time. It grows slowly, steadily, and with absolute structural integrity. So we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to take into your next learning session.
Knowing the power of focused intention, what single small protective ritual will you start today, not tomorrow, but today, to guard your focus and truly accelerate your growth?